Hey, what's going on? Tripp Kramer here from trippadvice.com, and I'm doing a little interview today with my man, my boy, Spencer Burnett. Now, we've done some videos in the past before. We did a video all about fashion, but this guy knows way more than fashion. He is the Snapchat king, and I knew I wanted to teach you guys about Snapchat. I'll be honest with you, I use it, but I don't really do a lot of seduction over Snapchat, but I know that Spencer does, and he's been doing it for such a long time. And so I had to have Spencer on and teach you some really amazing techniques to use to be able to talk to girls, to meet girls, and more importantly, get them to meet up. So Spencer, dude, thanks for doing this and sharing some of your secrets, so to speak.
No problem, dude. Thanks for having me. I love doing videos with you, man. You know that.
Yes. So, okay, tell these guys a little bit about just, give us a quick minute of why you should be trusted in terms of Snapchat seduction and learning how to talk to girls on Snapchat.
Well, for the past few years, I would say the past 3 years, I've been using Snapchat, and it really is one of the primary ways that women communicate. It seems like really private and intimate, and so if you are communicating with them over Snapchat, you seem to get like a really authentic response. And so over the past couple of years, I've been toying around with all different seduction strategies that I've learned and taught over the course of the past decade, and have been applying them to Snapchat. And through all of the other kind of ways to meet and seduce women, I found that this is one of the most efficient ways to meet and meet new women, date new women, and sleep with new women. So
why do you think that is?
Is
it just because it's like the new hot social media platform now, or?
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, there's another part of it too, that like Snapchat originally was like the dick pic app, right? and then it kind of evolved into this like just the whole disappearing picture thing. So everything, nothing was like permanent. It was all just like little touches here and there, which really kind of mimics real life. Facebook is forever, Instagram is forever, but Snapchat is just there when it's there, and once it's gone, it's gone. So it's fleeting, and so you're able to take more risks, and I feel like you can be a little bit more bold. And it really is. I mean, it's taking someone into your life. You know what I mean? It's like they're right there in your bedroom, in your house. You're there in their bedroom, their house. And so you create an intimate connection with people when you're seeing their life through that lens, and it allows you to create a deeper connection faster.
Cool. I've actually never heard it explained that way, and that was pretty good. I like that. It is kind of like real life because it's just happening in the moment, and that's pretty much it. And then it's gone in a second or 10 seconds or whatever with the stories. I know they last for like a day. But that's pretty much it. That's cool. All right, so let's get into this. Let's go through the whole process of the beginning of getting a girl's Snapchat and then moving all the way to getting her in person, because that's what we want to do, right? That's all my theory in terms of social media. It's not just about getting their Facebook or their Instagram or DMs or even texting, right? It's about using this technology and this medium to get them in person so you guys can actually have a human-to-human connection and, of course, date or sleep with or get into a relationship with, because that's the stuff that only happens in person. Okay, so if you're watching this, you have to understand that. Okay, it's not about just snapping all day. It's a tool to get them in person. So let's talk about that.
Okay, I mean, the first step is, of course, getting their Snapchat. Now, this is also another reason why I think that Snapchat is kind of more intimate, is because there's no search function. It's not like Facebook or Instagram where you can see beautiful girls and just follow them and try to hit them up. You actually have to know what their Snapchat handle is. And there's a few ways to get that. The easiest way is to go into your phone and take a look at your contacts, because if you have her phone number, then you have the option to friending her on Snapchat. So even if you're out, at the bars meeting women, get her phone number and then immediately go into Snapchat and see if you can follow her. So that's a big one. Another thing that I do is I use the Snapchat code with your picture on it as my home screen. So when I'm out meeting women, I'm like, oh, you're on Snapchat? Press my home screen button. There pops up, and she can just take a picture of that, and you can be following each other instantly. And then my favorite strategy is using social media platforms, but more so dating platforms to find out what their Snapchat is. So I know a lot on Tinder that girls post what their Snapchat is. So you might swipe right, but they might not swipe right to you, or you might have matched, but they're not really responsive on that app. But if you look into the profiles, and most guys don't read profiles, but you start to, so you get their Snapchat, you can find their handle and just start following them. So those are the three best ways to actually start following them and start that engagement.
Okay, cool. And also, I want to add this. Something I've noticed is something interesting happens when you first add someone on Snapchat. I feel like they watch your stories a little bit more than if they've been your Snapchat friend for a long time, because it's like they're seeing a new name in their story and they're like, oh, well, let's see what that person is up to, just because it's so new and so fresh. So I feel like you can really take advantage of being able to use Snapchat with someone who you just met or someone who just added you on Snapchat, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's important to have a really good Snapchat profile. So, yeah.
Perfect segue. Let's go into that.
Exactly,
so,
right.
Okay,
yeah.
So now you've added them on Snapchat. You have them on there. What are you doing? What kind of snaps are you doing? When do you add it to a story? When do you send it to them? Let's break all that down.
Okay. Well, start is you have to be a regular Snapchat user. If you're just using this to find girls on Tinder, find their Snapchat handles, and then start messaging them, like that doesn't work. That's creepy no matter what platform you're using, right? So you need to put on a Snapchat that is entertaining. Here's something that I've noticed. Women, especially attractive women, are inherently bored. And the more attractive they are, the more bored they are, because they have so many different types of men trying to entertain them to win their favor. So your Snapchat has to be creative, and it's got to be dynamic. So you've got to take your best attributes and display them on Snapchat in a creative way. So if you go to the gym, put that on there. If you got a nice fancy car, put that on there as well. But don't be a one-trick pony. That gets a little bit annoying, because you got to keep in mind you're competing with a bunch of other dudes on Snapchat. And so if she just sees that you're just doing the same stories over and over again, she's just going to pass through them, and you might see that she looked at them, but she's not really paying attention. So being authentic, first of all, and I mean, we always talk about that. You have to truly be you. Like you can sensationalize it, but you got to make sure that you're honest with your lifestyle. Don't be sitting in a Lamborghini when you don't own a Lamborghini, at least not consistently, right? So yeah, you want to have a story. To be an active Snapchat user, it doesn't have to be every day, but it does have to be throughout the week, where you're saying something interesting and showing your depth and showing your creativity and showing how. Showing all the different things you do in your life, everything from your family to your pets, to your friends, your job, your workouts, the food you eat, all of that, all that's good. You got to build a life, just like in real life seduction, that she would want to be a part of. And if she sees that, that's what's going to give you a huge leg up. In fact, I was out in the downtown Chicago, and this weekend, and I actually haven't been on Snapchat a whole ton in the past couple of weeks. And she came up to me, and I didn't know this girl, and she was like, "You are one of my favorite Snapchatters. I follow you." And she's like, "I know that you're single, and I want to set you up with all my girlfriends. Let me show you all my girlfriends." So from just having fans, posting, and again, nothing crazy, just interesting and creative, I was able to get dates on residual from just having those creative stories. It's on mute, Tripp.
What were you doing on Snapchat to get her to say that to you?
Well, I mean, I'm always doing different crazy things, right? Everything from hosting underground dinner parties to doing meditations and teaching about that, to cooking a meal with some of my friends, or maybe a date. Just all the different elements of my life. Getting my hair done at the salon, and hanging out with my dog and teaching him crazy tricks. My dog's game is top notch. So all of that stuff. And they become part of, when people watch you on Snapchat regularly, you become part of their day. You become part of their story as they're going throughout, their day. Like I said, women are inherently bored, so you become their entertainment.
So what if you're like this guy who doesn't go to the salon, doesn't teach meditation, doesn't do anything interesting? What could that guy do to get the attention from a woman?
Well, two things. One, start doing things that are interesting, whether you're on Snapchat or not. Like having a life that demonstrates that if she were with you, she wouldn't be your top priority, makes women want to be your top priority. Women are inherently competitive. And so do something interesting that's beyond, just trying to hunt for girls. But if you're just starting out, and if you're just starting out, then be creative. I mean, you can turn very everyday things into hilarious and creative Snapchats. I to my personal YouTube channel, I actually have some of my Snapchat vlogs where I record the entire day on Snapchat, and so we can leave some links to some of those examples where I'm just doing really everyday things but making it interesting on the way that you produce your Snapchat.
Yeah, and you're like, I remember I've seen stuff from you, you're just sharing your opinions, you're kind of cracking jokes about what you're doing. Like, you're not always doing crazy stuff, but you're always just kind of making the little things that you're doing into something more of a big deal. I mean, everything you're doing, whether from playing with your dog to, I don't know, doing some of your work, some of your editing, things like that, or even things on TV, like you're almost like a commentator on your own life, whether it's something mundane or whether it's something that is really interesting, like some of those underground dinner parties. So, and I like what you said there too, is like, well, if your life is really boring, then maybe you should start doing things to have a life that's interesting, and going to more events or getting outside the house or hanging out with more people or doing something that is interesting, not only for Snapchat but for you as well. But of course, if you're doing that, you can snap those things too.
Right. Now, here's the thing. Like you said, not everybody is doing super interesting things all the time.
Keep talking. I'm gonna plug in my my computer because it's about to die. Keep talking.
Okay. All right. So women are always looking for things that are interesting. So you see, like, on their Instagrams, they're on these vacations or stuff like that. That's one way to appear interesting, is like do expensive dynamic things. But another way that's very cheap and very easy to be interesting is to find interest in things that are typically just kind of everyday. So I can make a cucumber salad and have it be the most interesting thing in the world. And what that shows is that you find joy in the small things. You have attention to detail and an excitement about things that are just kind of mundane for everybody else. And I'll tell you what, she would much rather be with a guy that finds the joy and can express the joy in little things than have a guy that will buy her anything she wants, but he himself is just boring. It's guys get confused on what women want. They think that they want more. They just want different, and different might just be your perspective. And a lot of times that's plenty enough to get their attention.
I like that. That's cool. Very cool. So, are there any other tips or any other ideas you can give the guys off the top of your head that will make the snaps interesting? Well, I guess some of that stuff felt like we're talking about stories. Is there anything specific that you might send I don't know what to say. How do you say this? Like, you just snap them personally?
Yeah, it's their DM, right? So you send a girl a DM, yeah, a direct message. Okay. So yes. So for instance, there is one girl that I've been recently flirting with on Snapchat, and I know that she's got a Boston Terrier, just like my dog. My dog's a Jack Russell Boston mix, and so she did a picture, and I did one that was strikingly similar to her picture, and mentioned on how they have the same look, and then she ha ha ha, little smiley face back, nothing much back, but it was something. And so I was like, then I started talking about how my dog wanted to take her out on a date. And, and made jokes on, wanted to know if her dog was vegan too, because I know she was vegan. And, and then a conversation started up, and that's actually recent. So I haven't yet gone on a date with her, but maybe I should apply some of these next tips that I got coming up for you.
Cool. All right. So yeah, let's keep going. So what's the next step here?
All right. So next step is to actually start the conversation and meet up somewhere. So once you see that she's been looking at your snaps, and even if she hasn't, you start sending those, direct messages. Okay. So when you notice, again, when you can be observant about something that is, again, maybe something she didn't notice, or you can make some type of comment that's funny or witty. Those are the type of direct messages you want to send. And you want to make sure that she is looking at them and then at least giving you something a little bit back. Even if it's as much as a smiley face or something like that, that counts. Okay. So once you can start getting this expectation that she's going to get back to you, you kind of have to watch what she's doing. Right. So this happened to me a few weeks ago where I was home on a Friday night. I was actually planning on staying in, but I saw a girl that I was interested in for a little while. She was getting ready. I saw she was doing her makeup. She was having her glass of wine. She started, she was pre-gaming with her girlfriends. And I simply just put out there, "Hey, you look great. Where are you girls heading tonight?" And then they gave me the list of the places that they were heading. And I was like, "That sounds great. I'm heading out with my friends." I made sure made some plans, and maybe I'll see you out. And she was like, "Yeah, sounds great." So now I've got the permission to reach out to her via Snapchat throughout the night and being like, "Hey, I just left this place. Where are you guys at? Let's meet up." And if you can make it really convenient for a girl to meet up with you on a Friday or a Saturday night, just because you happen to be in the same place, that's a whole lot easier than hitting her up on a Tuesday afternoon and saying, "Hey, we should grab drinks this weekend." That makes sense?
Yeah, for sure. So this is a good way of just kind of like see what they're up to and kind of get involved with her and in person with her when she's already up to something. So then you can work more of the attraction in person. This is like this is not the opposite, but this is just another way it sounds like of doing it rather than going for a direct like, "Hey, we should go on a date," or "We should hang out," or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean that's an option as well, but you need a kind of more rapport and more of a conversation going back and forth before you can actually start, asking that. And I see guys make this mistake all the time. It's like the girl responds, so he goes straight for the date. She has to see that she is more to you than some girl to sleep with. And if you can have a conversation with no expectation and she's enjoying that, that's what opens the door for you to be able to ask, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" Or, "Hey, where are you girls going? Maybe we can meet up."
What about a situation where when is a good time to get her in person if it's just her? So what about that? What we were just talking about, like actually asking her on a date, or do you think it's better to get her number off of Snapchat and move to texting? Like if you guys are just snapping and you don't have her number, like when is a good time to be like, "Hey, let's hang out"?
Okay, so if you're just snapping where you guys are sending just like text messages back and forth, that's one way to DM. The other way is to actually, send pictures or videos. So I'll straight up record a video and talk to and ask a girl out that way. Snapchat also has a live call feature as well. So if you feel like you've got some rapport going, just hit that live button, because here's the thing. No guy does this. No guy is doing a live video call with a girl. And this is something that I did. This is something I did probably maybe a month and a half ago, of a girl that I've been flirting with on Snapchat, and she lives in the suburbs. And I knew she was getting off of work. And me and her had been snapping back and forth. So I knew she was getting off work and getting into her car. So I hit that button right away and just had like a 3 or 4 minute conversation, and found out what she was doing that weekend and asked her out on a date.
But it's private, right? Just between you two?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that. Okay.
And just so many guys don't do that. I developed that technique through on Tinder. Before I would go on a date, I would FaceTime a girl. just to kind of build that rapport, make sure I wasn't getting catfished, and it's like a date, because again, keep in mind, like when you call a girl and you're in your room, your office, or wherever you are, like she's in there with you, you're in there with her, so it builds this connection that the phone or text messages really can't. So
Got it.
so if you're noticing, and again, once you start watching someone's Snapchats, you kind of get a hang of like what their day looks like, what their week looks like. And so if she's complaining about how exhausted she is and she can't wait for the weekend, or or stuff like that, then you continue on that thread. Notice openings, just like in real seduction. When you're having a conversation, when you first meet a girl, you're wondering, okay, when do I bring up that I want to go out with her? You've got to be aware of conversational threads that can be lead-ins to, well, maybe we should get together sometime. Maybe we should go to a movie or grab a drink, or if you love sushi, I got the perfect place for that. Yada, yada, yada.
Cool. And I think the best part about Snapchat too is that there's no end to what you can talk about, and there's no end to how you can start conversation, right? Picture's worth 1,000 words. So whether it be you snapping her or she's snapping you, it's so easy to build rapport with someone because there's so much to talk about based on whatever videos or pictures you're sending or what they're doing or what you're doing. And then I'm thinking hopefully from that you can move it to, well, you and I should be hanging out sometime, whether you do that on a live call, or I like the idea of sending her a video snap, personal DM to her, and asking her out that way. Or whatever, just doing it over chat. But either way, there's so many outlets that you can do to finally ask her out after you guys have been snapping each other. What do you think is a good amount of time in terms of how long you should be waiting to pull the trigger on that?
Pull the trigger on which part?
On asking her out after you guys have been DMing, or she's been watching your stories, things like that, or you've been watching hers.
Yeah, I say you can do it as soon as a week. Once again, you've got to make sure that the rapport is there, and that that she feels comfortable with you. But after a couple back and forth of the DMs, and she feels like you are part of her day and she's part of yours, that really only takes about a week to do. So and again, if you don't pull the trigger, you always have that person in your pocket. I mean, that's so. So this is, Snapchat is really something that you can use to court a lot of women at one time. It really is an efficiency tool. I mean, I remember what text messaging did for dating, and Snapchat has made it even easier for you to kind of have multiple women that you're courting or that you're trying to date, and do that without really burning out.
What's really cool too is I think that Snapchat is not a way to necessarily build attraction. Like a girl could become attracted to you over it. But what I think it does is it builds intrigue and it builds interest. It gets her to the point of, you know what? I am interested in seeing what this guy is all about in person. She's not saying that in her mind, but she's basically subconsciously thinking that. To her it's just, oh, this guy's interesting and I wanna meet up with him, or she'll say yes to a date because she's intrigued by who you are, because she's been seeing into your life and in your personality, because you've been displaying your personality over these snaps and stories and things like that. So it's a great way to build intrigue, especially with a girl that you don't really know that well. What a great idea to meet a girl at a bar. Let's say you only have 5 minutes with her because you got to go where she has to go. We'll just exchange. It might be too soon to exchange numbers, or don't even go for the number. Just be like, hey, let me get your Snapchat, because that's so much easier to get, and then you can build intrigue and interest over that. And then, like you're saying, just ask him out at that appropriate time when you guys have been connecting a little bit over the app.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, seduction over Snapchat is a little bit harder because it's not in person. And again, a lot of guys will just think about showing things that they're trying to impress her. You know what I mean? The best seduction happens. The best seduction happens kind of in the DM and in real life.
Right, exactly. I like it. In the DM.
Yeah, in the DM.
Nice. Dude, this has been really awesome. For guys who have more questions about how to use Snapchat, I want you to write your questions down below. And maybe Spencer, when we go live with this, you can be down there and answering questions and things like that.
Oh, Absolutely, dude.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. I'll let you know when it goes live. So yeah, guys, go ahead, write a question down below. Let's have a Snapchat conversation. Let's talk about this stuff. And yeah, where can guys find you? I know you have a YouTube channel. You put out lots and lots of content. So what I'll do is I'll put that link below in the
Yeah.
description so guys can check out more of you and yeah, go from there. Sound good, my man?
Sounds great, Trip.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Spencer. And guys, also write thanks, Spencer, in the comments. I want to see a billion of those because he's the man, always gives great content. Thanks, dude.
All right. Thanks, buddy.